Welcome to this edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, the show where three mostly normal and somewhat cynical adults discuss life as members of the TV generation. Now here are your hosts, Darth Jada, Jason Mitchell, and Adam B.
And we're off and freaking running.
That's the quality.
God.
That's
Thank
the
you very
quality
much.
right
I
there.
owe that to you.
Sorry.
Not even sure
Let's
what to do
lower.
right
Let's lower the music. I think that's it.
It's buzzing in my ear. Oh, you can't hear anything?
You can't hear anything?
Yeah,
Ah, you'll
Jason
get
needs
used
get
to
his
it.
life
You'll get
together.
used to it.
You don't
okay.
have
It's
to wear
okay.
them. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's okay,
Jason
yeah.
can hear
Yeah.
you, and we'll let you know
I'll
you
tell
sound.
you, either you're doing great or you suck. Okay.
Yeah,
So
mine are actually
that's-
buzzing really badly, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of
Okay.
them. So,
Let's do a Kickstarter to buy me some new goddamn headphones.
buy Darth Jader some headphones, Hindsighters. Buy some merchandise, please.
Now let's talk about a movie that everyone's already seen and said everything possible to say about.
I don't know. We bring some pretty unique viewpoints to the table, I feel. But
Do we?
I would like to
Oh,
think
okay.
so.
All right.
I mean, we've only been doing this for 2 years, but whatever.
Oh man.
So anyway, speaking of the movie, we have a beloved guest back with us in the studio today. We have Cece back to discuss. What are we discussing, Cece?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yay!
I know, but what are we talking about?
Boom.
I'm not even.
suck.
It's not even.
I know
worth it.
you weren't going
Yeah.
to do it to yourself, so I had to do it.
Phrasing. Boom.
That one wasn't intentional, so it
okay.
counts. All right.
It's good. I like
And
it.
this also happens to be one of Mr. Brown's favorite Christmas movies of all time. Is that
I
correct?
cry. I hope I don't cry tonight.
That's what she said. Anyway,
Oh,
had to break the tension off of that awful
Yeah,
bombshell.
that gotta say, that gets you that. That's a win for Darth.
I can hear it through his headphones, so I'm cool. But all right, so this is, what Jason was sort of alluding to, one of the most classic Christmas movies of all time. If you haven't seen it, what kind of communist hiding under what rock are you? That's my question.
I would posit that if you did a survey of people who hadn't seen this movie, I think you'd be surprised that there are actually a lot of
I would
people
say
who
a
have
lot.
not seen it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it was made in 1947.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Or had
46.
46.
Or have
It
only
was-
seen parts of
I
it.
just
Right.
saw VII.
Ah,
Why
there's
does
an
Amazon
interesting
Prime keep
there's an
lying to
interesting
me?
there's an interesting reason for that though. They were supposed to release it
one-upping me
in
in that
47,
category.
but RKO had another picture, a Sinbad picture. That Technicolor.
Sinbad?
It was one
Not
of the
the
Sinbad
comedian.
movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
It's
thought,
okay.
boy, how
Yeah,
old
I
is he?
know.
I know I auditioned for this
Well,
film.
he's a
Hey,
genie.
black
He's
don't
been
crack,
around
man.
forever.
That's right.
Whoa. So it got real very quickly.
No, but Technicolor couldn't get the Sinbad picture out in time, so they
Okay.
rushed this one to 46, but they didn't reshoot the titles, so the titles are actually incorrect. And that's the only thing I have to add about this movie.
All right, then. What
The
what a
only
great
thing,
story.
really?
It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's perfect.
Have you ever seen this movie?
A million times.
Well, we had a recent argument. What film was that? It was different date.
That's what I'm saying, and I cannot remember.
I don't
just
listen to our
recent-
show. I wouldn't know.
He doesn't. He really doesn't. He records the episodes, and then you're like a shark. You give birth, and you're just like, have a sandwich and a roadmap, and I'll see you later. That's pretty much it.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's how much Jason really loves the show that he
Really
Yeah.
missed it.
Hey, I learned
co-hosts.
your names already.
That's true.
That's a big deal for me.
Well,
I'll get to you. Don't worry.
We appreciate that,
He's
of
getting
course.
2 letters, the same letter twice, basically.
Okay.
is
All right.
All you have to remember. So
And it's not very far in the alphabet, so I don't have to go too far before I
'cause
just randomly
that's
guessing.
a tactic that they
Is
both
it
have
Zuzu?
when-
yes,
Yeah, I thought so.
I am George
Zuzu.
Bailey's littlest daughter.
Zuzu.
Truth comes out. That's why it's my favorite.
Do
Christmas
either of
movie.
you know why she was called Zuzu?
I used to know this actually. I looked it up, but
I thought you didn't have
She like
anything else
driving
to say.
My
Mazda?
memory fails me.
Apparently, I do have stuff.
Oh, that's
to say.
Zoom Zoom. That was different, right?
No, that was Mazda.
Oh, okay, right.
No, it was a brand of ginger snap. It was Zuzu's
Oh, because
ginger
he
snap.
calls her
He
his
said,
little
yep,
ginger snap. Oh, I did not know that.
Yep. There you go.
Fun fact. And unrelated to this movie entirely, that's actually what I call my niece. And because when she was born, she actually had really crazy wild hair. And so I called her Zuzu, like Zoolander, because he had the crazy spiky hair. But then I was watching this again. I was like, oh right, his daughter's name is Zuzu, and it just tied it together. But
And
it's
no one's
completely
going to make an
random.
Exorcist 2 reference? Pazuzu? The demon?
I don't
I'm not sure
remember
what's
Where are the
Pazuzu.
crickets?
Oh, he was an he was
Yeah,
an he
do
was
the cricket
wait,
noise.
hang on.
Cricket yourself.
I don't have my list. Here, hang on. There we go. There.
Nice.
Better late than
Nobody
never.
in the room
Very
knew either
nice.
I should have
hindsighters, so don't worry about it.
had the I am Pazuzu thing queued up.
Okay, so we need to get into the synopsis of this movie because Jason's a diva and has to be somewhere tonight. So basically, the synopsis of this Hindsighters is George Bailey has so many problems he is thinking about ending it all. And it's Christmas. All the angels discuss George. We see his life in flashback. As George is about to jump from a bridge, he ends up rescuing his guardian angel, Clarence, who then shows George what his town would have looked like if it hadn't been for all the good he did over the years. So,
Just imagine if Clarence had taken him back and everyone was like super happy.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
It's like, yeah, life was so
I'm-
much better.
Yeah,
Everyone
man,
was
I'm glad George
prosperous.
Bailey's not here.
it's the opposite of A Christmas Story because, Scrooge sees how much happier everyone is without him, whereas George Bailey sees how
Yes.
upset. And you even get that wholesome vibe just straight from the beginning, how everyone in the town is praying for a guy named George and you don't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
his guardian angel, who's a bit of a noob, he hasn't earned his wings yet, Clarence,
Yeah.
who carries a copy of what book, guys?
Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer.
Yes.
He loves to read. Anyway, never mind.
When you have to
It's very good. Very
Yeah.
self-control.
Thank you. Thank you.
He doesn't express that very often, Cece. It's probably just because you're here today, so I appreciate it. Thank
So
you.
my
gravy
my
shooter.
first cry of the movie is always when I hear them praying. Please pray for Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that gets me every time. Ah!
Because every town member, like the guy who owns the bar, Martinis, everyone in town is praying for George, and so that was a question that I had because it's a pretty funny movie at points where the angels get together and they're like, well, I guess enough people were praying about this guy. I guess we should band together and do something about it. So,
Otherwise-
but then they put the noob of the angels on
Be
it. and
fine.
It's
Yeah.
just like, and they're giving him an opportunity to earn
Yeah.
his angel's wings.
Well,
I
either
get
that
it,
or they're
but
like, Christ, it's Bedford Falls again. Just send the new guy.
why do people keep settling there? It's like the wagon train ended and they just said, screw it.
Well, it was just a small town praying for him. It was a
Yeah.
whole nation.
Imagine.
Then he would get
Yeah.
the archer.
Then Homelander
Archer
or
God
Archer like
himself.
diamond.
Do any of you know who was originally going to play George Bailey?
I do not.
Tell us.
This is
please.
I
awesome.
can't imagine anybody but Jimmy Stewart, though.
Now there was before,
Richard Dreyfuss? Yeah. I think it was Richard.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Sinbad. Angels be different from men. No,
Something wrong with you,
before Frank Capra was associated with the project, it was actually written and it was being developed specifically for Cary Grant.
Oh, I thought maybe Jimmy Cagney.
And
I could
whenever
actually see Cary Grant.
I could
Okay.
too, yeah,
Not as good as Jimmy Stewart.
No,
though.
it wouldn't. It wouldn't be as good, but you could definitely imagine. Well, and the story was different. The script it was more closely related to the actual story. That I can't remember the name of the writer,
I think that's in my notes, so keep going and I'll.
but yeah,
I'll
but
find it.
when Frank Capra got it, he redeveloped it specifically for Jimmy Stewart. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, if I can find that in my notes, I'll come back to it. But I literally can't imagine anybody other than, a tall Pennsylvania man playing this role.
An award
George
hero.
Bailey.
Yeah, his iconic voice
'Cause-
in the role.
Well, what's funny about that, Cece, is that, there goes my candy cane. I guess I lose the game.
You
we didn't
lost.
establish a game, though, so I'm putting it back on right now. But that was what I was going to ask you, Mr. Brown. Since Jimmy Stewart is also from Pennsylvania, why don't you sound just like Jimmy Stewart?
Well, I don't know. I'm not good at impressions. No, I don't sound a lot like him. Well, remember, I was born in New Jersey.
oh god. So was my wife though. So
There. Okay.
I
So
was about to say Elaine.
I was waiting to get the wrath,
Yeah.
but then luckily I had that
Yeah.
the Elaine shield.
So I think one
Elaine Shield.
reason that I never watched this all the way through as a child, and a lot of people maybe have never watched this all the way through, is that it used to be like 4 hours long
Yes,
in
before
the
they cut
days
it.
of yore with commercial breaks.
Yes.
because when they aired this, there were 7 million commercials.
Yes.
I mean, it was like every 2 minutes they broke for a commercial.
They had to
Yes.
tamp the
Yeah,
commercials down.
because they're
honestly,
like,
to
it's
make
Christmas. What are you going to do? Not watch it?
Why, yes, that's exactly what
Get
I'm
your
gonna
ass
do.
back on the couch. You don't got to pee.
I'm gonna go read Tom Sawyer like Clarence because he got bored. And this is the part that okay, you guys have made fun of me in the past because I've referenced this, and y'all were like, "What is the matter with you?" You remember this is the one thing you
Yeah.
remember from It's a Wonderful Life is Mr. Goyer slapping the ever loving hell
And that's
out of
real
poor-
blood.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, he beat that kid hard enough to make him bleed. And as soon as they yelled cut, he like put his arms around him and was like, I'm sorry.
So
I'm
like just like in the scene, please don't hit my sore ear again.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Ruptured his eardrum.
yeah.
Oh my,
What?
serious-
I'm making that up.
Rupture your arm.
Never,
Why are
never
you
admit
here?
to that. Just own it.
They love making sure.
Well, no, I enjoyed watching this scene with my
Or
children.
Mr. Gower, sorry. not Mr. Gower.
Because I told them, I said, you think you have a tough
Exactly.
life? Listen,
Yeah.
I feel like beating you like that, but I don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's still a wonderful life
Yeah.
for him, despite getting
Yes.
slapped senseless.
The movie has a few of those sort of inadvertent shots where things happened that just ended up in the movie. The part where Uncle
Billy.
Billy, when he goes
me the money.
outside
Uncle Billy.
and you hear him like tripping over the trash cans.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy Stewart says, are you okay? What happened was the actor, Thomas Mitchell.
You know his name, but you
Nice.
don't remember the character's name.
Well,
Yeah.
his same
What's his
name.
name? Yeah.
I was
so-
pointing out the fact that he's vain,
Yeah.
but you know.
I am.
thanks for
We
You
all
stepping
are.
probably
over
think this whole podcast is about you.
that, isn't it?
It's a reference
Anyway.
to a
Anyway.
song.
Yes. Yeah. She doesn't.
We know, don't we?
What song?
You're kidding me.
Yes.
Crickets again?
You are
Oh,
kidding.
Please. I
You
can't
probably
live.
think this song
I
is
couldn't
about
live
you.
if
there you go.
It's all right.
when they were shooting that. When
I've
they were
seen
shooting
how
that,
to get rid of a guy in 10 days.
the actor
Like your rendition of the title.
the actor walked off screen, and as soon as he walked off screen, there was somebody moving a bunch of props, and he dropped them, and there was this big clutter and a bunch of noise, and Jimmy Stewart thought that he had tripped and fallen, and so he said, "Are you okay?"
Oh,
And
so they kept it.
They kept it, and Frank Capra actually gave that prop guy $10 for enhancing the sound of the scene.
Well, it was
He
great
paid him
because-
extra.
Nice
Because
little
then
bonus.
you have
yeah.
the whole portion where it's even better because Jimmy Stewart does imitate his Uncle Billy, where he's like, "All right, well, Billy and lone pal," and his mom shoves him. She's like, "Go find this nice girl to marry," and like shoves him off.
Since you're going to
stage.
stay here, you might as well get
Yeah.
married.
Yeah, but
So another thing about this movie is that maybe the reason people don't come back to it and watch it all the way through is you kind of have to watch it to the end for it to be a feels good
Yes.
kind of movie.
oh
Absolutely
yeah, Friends
correct.
points that out.
Friends,
Actually,
exactly. The episode where Phoebe is down because she realizes
because of old Yeller.
Yes. Yeah.
She realizes that Yeller. Spoiler alert: Yeller dies at the end, and well, he's yelled at me for that before.
Hey, we said spoiler alert this time,
I
so
told him
it's
Mufasa
your own
died,
fault.
and he got really
Yeah.
upset.
I did write this down, and she says they shouldn't have called it "It's a Wonderful Life." They should have called it "It's a Sucky Life." And just when you think it can't suck anymore, it does.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
if you don't watch it to the end, you're left feeling depressed, frustrated, the same way George Bailey feels through most of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Phoebe even says, "Oh
It's
yeah."
a total downer. The movie is a huge downer
Until it's
until the
not,
end.
yeah.
and Monica even says, "Well, didn't you think it was kind of wonderful at the end?" And she's like, "I didn't make it to the end because
had to
I love
quit."
the part where the evil pharmacist makes his ear bleed and Donna Reed cries and this is just a sucky life and just when you can't suck anymore, it does." It's yeah, she completely flips out about it when it's supposed to be such a feel good, but it is in the beginning and then it's just a super downer for like a straight half hour.
Death, bankruptcy. Just list all of the terrible things that
all of
occur
it.
in
Well,
this
well,
movie.
my kids are watching, and the little girl's going to die, isn't she?
Oh, Zuzu.
He's going to die, right? Because he's got a fever. Oh, the girl's going to die, right? The girl's going to no, not going to die. The wife's going to die. The wife,
They're
she's
just trying to prepare
They were just
themselves.
getting ready
Yeah,
for
exactly.
you. Know,
Well,
something
they're
bad's
the
going to
Game of
happen.
Thrones generation where everything
exactly, yeah.
that can go badly will.
Yeah.
So it just, and you have just such a wholesome setup. And like I said, they even tell you, and this is what I like, because it's an older movie. It was in 46, 47, but the angels straight up tell you that the character development is going to take a while. So unlike with older movies, y'all talk about how your kids can't sit through movies with too much character development these days. But in the beginning, the angels are straight up like, you're going to listen for an hour and learn about George Bailey. That's what you're going to do. And so the audience knows it too.
Well, it was actually one minorly controversial aspect of the movie was that according to the Hays Code, which back in the day, the Hayes was the guy in charge of the MPAA.
I was about to say, I have no idea what you're talking about.
They talk about there's
I'm not
there's
even kidding this time.
pre-code Hollywood, code Hollywood, and post-code Hollywood.
So pre-Karen Hollywood.
I mean, kind of, yeah. It was actually, the MPAA said, at the end of a movie, the criminal has to either be caught / punished or has to repent. And in this movie, that does not happen. Because the $8,000?
Yeah, it never.
He gets away with it.
That's true.
Yeah, and that was
Old Man
actually
Potter.
it was a point of controversy with the MPAA, and some people actually think that the powers that be sort of sabotage the Oscars
And this is not
because it didn't win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a thing that. But I guess that does make it more wholesome at the end because even though the bad guy is so bad that he doesn't repent and he doesn't get caught, the good guy still wins.
Right.
And that's what's great.
Yeah, it doesn't
about
matter. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bigger point.
It's irrelevant. Exactly. And,
He gets a huge return on his $8,000 investment.
No shit.
Yeah,
does.
I saw-
just that little bit
yeah.
of stock he put in the plastics.
Yeah,
you know,
because
we didn't know
20,000.
about.
That's true.
I saw this.
Chili beans or soybeans or whatever kind of beans.
I saw this on the on the internet. Somebody said $20,000 in 20. I think it was 2018 numbers. It's about $350,000.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you hear about that, and this is the thing. So for those of you who haven't seen Mr. Potter, because we didn't mention this in the synopsis, Mr. Potter is like the bigwig of the town of Bedford Falls, and George Bailey's dad owns the what's the company? The
Building and loan.
the building
Yeah, the
and
building
loan.
and
I was
loan.
about to call it banking and loan, but building and loan. And so George just winds up stuck in
Michael
this
Milken.
town repetitively because he keeps doing the right thing. Like something happens to his dad, and so he takes over the business. Then he gives his scrimped up pennies to his brother to go to college, and then his brother wants to get married. So then he's still stuck in the town, and like something keeps happening to
Yeah.
George to keep him there. And then of all things, Mr. Potter, who owns everything in the town except for the building and loan, they lose that $8,000 when Uncle Billy, crazy crackpot Uncle Billy with his crows and his he's like Ellie Mae Clampett. He's got all these critters running around his house. It doesn't make any sense. But he's got a crow that just hangs out at the building and loan. But Uncle Billy messes up and he's gloating to Mr. Potter and just spills $8,000 in the guy's lap.
Which
And
is what, the equivalent of about $100,000
Yeah.
in 2018 dollars?
Yeah, and Mr. Potter is just that mean of a man that he just
Yeah.
pockets it, and because he knows it's going to ruin George
Oh, yeah.
Bailey's life, and he doesn't care. But they're talking about building houses, and this guy got a loan for $5,000 to build a house. I was like, do you have any idea how much my house costs? like
Yeah.
$5,000? Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the centerpiece of the whole movie. Who is Jimmy Stewart? I mean,
Yeah, he is.
oh wait, actually, one thing I want to point out here.
Devastatingly handsome Jimmy Stewart, I think you mean.
I'll give you that.
You left that
I'll
out.
give you that.
Oh,
I'll give you
he's
that.
so handsome. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
guys don't know.
Catherine,
Really? I didn't know.
Catherine
I know,
Hepburn, him and Catherine. She's flooded.
Oh my God. The way,
Sorry.
The way he can, and Cece's gonna get this. The way Jimmy Stewart can just lean, and a girl just has to like look up at him to kiss him. Oh my God, Jimmy Stewart.
Hey
patented
there,
that move.
Mary.
Oh, Mary. I know it was too good, wasn't it? Move on.
So okay.
Yeah, wait, is that the guy right there that ends up marrying? Is this after Mary?
Sam
at
Wainwright.
First? Sam Wainwright. Okay.
He's with Mary before Jimmy Stewart.
Right, that's right. But luckily, he's rich enough to afford any wife
Right.
that he wants, so it's no big deal. that
Well,
Jimmy
I think
gets
it was the hooker at his New York office that was like leaning. No, I'm serious.
I
She's
saw
like
it,
leaning
yeah.
over his shoulder, and that's why he can't figure out what kind of bean the
It's
plastic
probably
is made out of.
it's probably his secretary. Are
Hooker, secretary,
yeah, secretary, lover.
Yeah.
They were one and the
piece of
same
shit,
back then.
aren't
Yeah, back then that was yeah.
Hey, Charles, speed dial. Anyway, your
Okay.
point though.
The
Yes. Jimmy Stewart.
Look how tall he is, my God.
The pool, right? So the floor opens. There's a pool underneath. Okay. Did you You didn't. So I'm not even going to point. Did you notice who the guy is who turns the key that opens the pool?
I mean, I noticed. I don't know who he
I don't know
is
his
beyond the
significance.
movie.
It's Alfalfa.
No, it
No.
not
It's absolutely Alfalfa.
Oh,
Is that him right
It's
there?
totally,
him.
it's totally Alfalfa. Who do you know how Alfalfa bought it?
Was it a gambling? Was he a gambler?
no.
He was shot. Yeah.
At a card game or
You're
something.
ruining my child.
31 years old.
But I guess this is the point
yeah,
of the
yeah, that's the whole.
podcast.
Yeah,
Well, that's why you don't want to be a child star.
yeah. 31 years old. It was an argument over like $50, which was decent money.
Like
Which is
$150.
$100,000
Yeah,
now.
yeah, it was $1 billion. You could have built an aircraft carrier for that money. But yeah, so he was shot. But anyway, no, it was just that's Alfalfa in the movie. This is like the last time anybody saw him. Was a bit part.
Wow.
That's
Where-
what, yeah.
Yeah, where nobody recognized him.
And this is a trope that I love from older movies where, the characters will say, "Oh, well, I'm not much for dancing," and then they're like, Fred
Yeah.
Astaire and Ginger Rogers just traipsing
Yeah.
around. But Jimmy Stewart was a good singer too. Like he
Oh, yeah.
was.
Well, he played. He's got a lot of musical credit. I mean, he was Glenn Miller in the Glenn Miller Story, which is a
that's right.
fantastic movie. This movie, he didn't want to do this.
Why?
Well, it was right after the war, and people don't realize Jimmy Stewart flew 40-something combat missions.
He fought in World War II and Vietnam, didn't he?
No.
No,
Hold on.
World War II.
World War II.
That's
Hold
it.
on. Maybe Google lied to me earlier.
No, there's no way.
He'd
he was
been
in-
way too old for Vietnam.
Can't trust the internet.
Apparently not.
Eat this shit, Charlie.
I feel a little insane
He
right
fought in
now.
World War II and the Revolution.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
He was at Thermopylae. He did not fight in Vietnam.
Where? Point,
I'm
point. I
not
don't have
buying
glasses
this.
on.
You can show me anything on the internet. I'm not believing it.
That's a tough one. Maybe he was a reservist during that time.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Opinion.
He was involved in some, but it says battles and wars, and the
Vietnam
Vietnam War
War.
is
He was-
mentioned.
No.
There is
I'm
no
sorry.
way.
Air Force.
Yeah. He may have been.
We can look it up in
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yes. Let's do a
Don't worry
little bit.
about it.
Let's do a little more research on it because that is IMDb. Someone
Yeah.
could have just thrown that in.
And he fought in the
It's
Gulf
true.
War.
It's
He-
the Wikipedia
And he
of
fought in the
movies.
Clone Wars. And he fought.
The clone.
Yeah. Fuck you, Palpatine.
He wasn't any good at the lightsaber,
Yeah.
though. He was a hell of a pilot. But you
No,
got,
but he didn't want to do the movie though because he had just come off of, this, and he wasn't like a lot of Hollywood types who were in the service and they did just non-combat stuff. Not that there was anything wrong with the people who did that. Jimmy Stewart flew B-24s, and he flew. It was over 40 combat missions, and he didn't want to do this. He was like, yeah, it's too
Kinda worn
soon.
out, or-
I don't feel like, especially doing something that's like deep and emotional. And it was Barrymore actually convinced
Lionel
him.
Barrymore?
Yeah, he actually convinced him to do it. So we owe this entire movie to Lionel Barrymore.
tip of the Christmas hat.
But
That's
didn't
it.
he
Barrymore.
also say, now this is, I didn't recently look this up, but he didn't want his military service to be used in any way, shape, or form for him to get parts or
Yeah.
anything like that. And also, I know
Kinda
this
like
for a
with
fact,
Elvis.
he did pay his agent 10% of his second lieutenant salary.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, he did. That was the deal. He cut him a check every month for 10%
That's
because that was the
awesome.
deal.
Wow.
That's
that was
awesome.
the deal. Yep.
That's adorable.
Can you imagine being in the crew of Jimmy Stewart's B-24?
That would be pretty amazing.
I mean, if you're going to be with anyone else, because you got to think, if there's a God, this dude's making it.
yeah.
But you want to be with somebody with that kind of. Well, do you want somebody with that charisma, or do you not? Because the guy with that charisma usually dies in the movie.
In the movie,
Not
yes, in the
Yeah,
movie.
but
yeah.
Not in
if you're
real
going to
life
be
in
at
this
war,
case.
be at war with Jimmy Stewart.
Yes, exactly.
No, I agree, but that also means you're probably going down. Reggie.
He was like that. My dad likes to tell the story about whenever he went to Los Angeles on business years and years ago.
You just call it LA.
And enough out of you. And he went on one of those sort of typical, tours of the Hollywood stars' homes. And so they were going around on this bus, and they go to huge mansion and big mansion after mansion, and they finally pull up to this just normal little house. And he asks, or the tour guide's like, "Does anybody know who lives here?" And everyone thought he was joking, and they said, "No, that's Jimmy Stewart's house." And it was just
Wow.
it was just a modest, average home. This guy could afford anything he wanted, but he just had a simple little home. It was
Aw,
what
I
he,
like
you know,
that.
yeah, that's enough. Don't need any more.
Yeah.
And that kind of reminds me of Paul Newman. He was always kind of down to earth that way. And he actually had a house in Roswell. I mean,
Really?
it was a spare house in Roswell. Yeah, it was right down the street from where my parents lived. Because a friend of mine
I didn't
was
know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
this was years and years ago. It's hence been sold. But Paul Newman was at like a Walgreens or a CVS where a friend of mine was online at the checkout with him, and they dropped their Peter Pan peanut butter, and Paul Newman scooped it up and gave it back to him. He was like, I mean, it's not mine, but it's pretty good.
name dropper.
Yeah.
I know a lot of cool people, Jason.
No, I meant him. I meant
inadvertently
Yeah.
know
I was going in a different
someone-
direction.
I have
but-
my own brand.
Well,
You know, the profits go to charity. I'm not going to say which
not,
charity.
It's not as good as my dog food, but it'll do.
Yeah.
But I do love this vibe between Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed.
We
in
need
the movie.
to talk about Donna Reed.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well,
Epic beauty.
okay, this scene that we just saw, and I apologize, we're not able to really show the movie because of
Right.
the way the cameras are set up. But this is the scene where Donna Reed threw the rock, and she threw the rock to break the window, right?
Well, because she's on a date with Jimmy Stewart for the first time in her life, and she's been in love with him since they were little children when he was working at the soda
Right.
fountain. So
Love you forever. She whispered in his
Yes.
ear.
This is your bad ear, right?
But it was
John?
funny. It was Mary and the village bicycle sitting right next to each other, right?
Yeah. Violet.
Wah, wah.
Violet. Oh, and I wrote that down. How Violet is wearing that dress where she walks down the street and just stops traffic because she
Yes.
is just so distractingly beautiful. Even Jimmy Stewart is like, "Oh, hello, Violet. Hey, you look good. That's some dress you got on there." And she's like,
I'd
"Oh,
love
this
to split that open.
this whole thing where I only wear it when I don't care how I look." And it's just like, "Shut up, Violet.
Hard.
You suck." And she literally stops traffic. But
In this scene where she throws the rock through the window,
Mary, not Violet.
Mary, Frank Capra, Frank Capra actually hired a sharpshooter to shoot the window.
That is some old school Hollywood.
That's
right
old school
there.
Hollywood right there. You couldn't do that nowadays. But here's the thing, though. Donna Reed said, I played baseball when I was a girl. She threw the rock and she broke the damn window.
Oh, Donna Reed.
Nice.
There was someone else, and I don't remember who it was, who said something about, well, you're a city girl or something like that. And she was like, I grew up on a farm.
Wait, not Donna Reed. Doris
Day.
Day. I thought. Hold on. Am I mixing up my actresses?
Well, this is Donna
horribly
Reed.
right
Donna
This is Donna
Reed.
Reed.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I was thinking Doris.
No,
Day.
it's Donna Reed.
okay.
Doris Day
Go
always
ahead.
worked
So,
with Rock
she
Hudson.
said she played baseball when she grew up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Doris Day might have played baseball
Yeah,
too.
I mean, for all we know, she did. Yeah. Anyway, she said something about, oh, I'm not a city girl. I grew up on a farm. And somebody bet her that she didn't know how to milk a cow. And she was like, find a cow.
God,
She
Reed.
milked a goddamn cow just to show I know how to do it.
Well, and they even did an episode that was kind of dedicated to her on Gilmore Girls, where Rory is like this academia-based person, but then she becomes kind of.
What are your thoughts on Rory?
Oh, I hate Rory, but she dressed up like Donna Reed in the big Donna Reed dress with the apron and stuff to show her boyfriend that she could cook him dinner or something, and I was like, all right. But then she does all this research, and it turns out Donna Reed was a powerhouse in Hollywood, even in ways that you didn't see. She wasn't just a pretty face, kind of like what you're saying, Jason. She was like one of the first credited producers, and like she's just a badass.
Well, the Donna Reed show was a monumental success, and she was the powerhouse behind it. She was the one who made that show. She didn't write it, but she was in
she
charge
didn't.
of.
No, because there's a joke on one of them where her husband shows up and she's like, "Oh, I'm not even mad that you're late for dinner." And he's like, "Oh, really?" She goes, "No, I'll just consider you extremely early for breakfast." And it's like, all right, she didn't write that crap. That was
Yeah.
somebody else, and she just had to say it. But she was still the powerhouse.
Has anyone here? I know you have. We've seen the Donna Reed show. Okay, have either of you ever seen the Donna Reed show?
I haven't.
Okay, it's genuinely it was a good show.
I've never seen a whole episode.
Yeah,
so.
I mean it was in that whole My Three Sons,
Right.
Fred McMurray's and Donna Reed's ruled the world.
Gotcha.
But it was a really good show, and she was a legitimate Hollywood powerhouse,
Yeah, she was.
and she didn't take crap off anybody.
And I love it because they've got such a Daisy May and what am I thinking about? Little Abner.
Jethro
Little
Bundy,
Abner. The Sadie Hawkins Day, where Daisy May is chasing after Little Abner, and he's like, "You ain't gonna catch me, Daisy May," because George Bailey is determined not to stay in this town. He's like, "I'm never gonna get married, and I'm never doing this. I'm never settling down." And then, of course, he falls for Donna Reed. So. But because she just chases
What about
him.
these? Oh,
And then she's naked in a bush.
Yeah, that's right.
And that doesn't even get him to stay. It took a tragedy
yeah,
to get him to
a
go
bird
away
in
from
the
her,
hand.
but
Yeah.
still.
a bird in the hand. And on that note, we need to take a break.
break, yeah.
So we're going to be back in about 1 second. And we're back. And during the break,
Oh,
someone,
Aliens
down.
took over our
Game
sound
down.
system.
would you please press the power button
Which one?
on the speaker?
The horizontal thing. Yes.
There we
God.
go.
Wow.
How did that turn on?
That was a real treat.
It did
once
that
again,
during James
possessed
Bond.
by Satan.
It's possessed by Satan,
Yes.
like the HVAC.
Krampus.
Yes.
Yeah,
it
the
actually
Krampus.
it heard me saying that
The Krampus
Yeah.
came and took over for our next Christmas movie.
during the 1 second we were on break.
'Cause it was just the 1
It was
second.
just 1 second. There was a discussion that broke out about who are the leading men of our generations.
Because
plural.
in
Yeah.
this timeline
Yeah.
with the Jimmy Stewarts, the Cary Grants, the
John
Humphrey
Hamm.
Bogarts,
Yeah.
the
Sorry.
You know, no, that's
anyone
that,
wants to
no,
hang,
that's
I'll be
that's
at
good.
Subway.
That's
it's Parks
that's
and
a
Recreation.
very. I think John Hamm could easily be.
not on a Jimmy Stewart
No, no,
level.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'm just. Well, but they're not all Jimmy Stewart. I mean, there were a bunch of leading men.
There's only one Jimmy Stewart.
No,
Yes.
but like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
talking
Yeah,
about
we're-
comparatively speaking.
yeah.
So like Jimmy Stewart, Humphrey Bogart, Cary Grant were like universally loved. There wasn't a woman in the country that would be like, I don't like Jimmy Stewart or I don't like Cary Grant. I'm trying to think of somebody who's universally loved.
Well, let's
right
define
now.
a leading man. Let's define the terms. And I think that a leading man is somebody who he can headline a movie. You know, it's basically, oh, it's a new so-and-so picture.
and you'll
right?
go see it.
Strong
Like,
moral compass.
Yes, the ladies love him.
so
And the
he's got-
gay men,
Even if
He's
even
the
if he's
yeah.
bad, he's good inside.
Right.
Women want to
yeah.
be with him, men want to be him, kind of a guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And some men want to be with him. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
so there you go.
know, men want to be him. Women want to be him to be in them. Wait, no, sorry. Anyway,
Move on.
Racy.
so okay, so no,
never
leading
does
men.
that.
Like I would say, from my generation, we had a few people that came close. You know, we had Harrison Ford.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you got
Kevin
two women
Costner.
in here who can give you a definitive
yeah,
answer.
Kevin Costner. That's
Mel
it.
Gibson, not
Yeah.
anymore.
Not anymore.
Whoa now.
I am gonna see Fat Man when it comes out though.
don't talk about that damn movie.
That-
anymore.
that-
I'm in full denial that that's happening.
No, I that to me is good. No,
No, I still want to die between your thighs.
Tom
Don't worry.
Hanks. I would say that Tom Hanks, and this is going to be controversial, but I think that the closest my generation ever had to Jimmy Stewart was Tom Hanks.
As far as like the rugged meets the charm.
The sort of everyman, folksy, but also a hero. You know,
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah, because
I'm
like,
not saying he's him, but I think he's the closest we got to it.
As in, there's not a movie I wouldn't watch with Tom
Right.
Hanks in it.
And
Same with Jimmy Stewart.
yeah,
He plays a military guy. He
Yeah.
plays a business. He plays everything.
Yeah.
He can do
and
anything.
talented to boot, so it's not just the same like
Dude.
Arnold movie that
Yeah.
you go see over
Exactly,
and over
yeah,
and over again.
yeah.
Tom Hanks
Yeah.
plays different roles.
And
every
he has
time.
the humor, which is
Yeah,
important.
that's what
for
I'm
me.
saying.
Yes.
He's got the
Yeah.
charisma and the he can be rugged if he
and
needs
you
to.
have the impression, because the thing about Jimmy Stewart was you always got the impression that what you were seeing on screen was very similar to him in real life.
Yes,
you wanna have a beer with him.
absolutely.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely.
And see, and that's what I used to always say about Mel Gibson before the
Yeah.
Let's
anti-Semitism
not get
thing.
into that.
Because
I'm just gonna gloss right
Before
over that.
his breakdown, I used to always say Mel Gibson was the guy in Hollywood that I wanted to have a beer with. I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, come on, man, I want to go hang out with Mel Gibson.
Hell yes.
Probably
do.
not.
No.
And now, but as we said, it's really leading women. It's like
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence,
Oh heck yeah.
Zoe Deschanel. Those are the
Who's
people
the
you wanna have
actress
a
from
drink with.
Twilight?
No.
Not
No.
not
No.
Kristen Stewart.
No, but
just
I have news.
Oh,
Oh, news.
does it pertain to the movie?
News.
No, not a
There's
bit.
News.
Kristen Stewart. I saw a Kristen Stewart movie that is a brand new movie called Underwater. It's a love. It was billed as a Lovecraftian science fiction horror movie.
Really?
I
Yes.
don't even understand what that means. Do tell.
I do, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem to fit with her.
I would actually like everyone to go watch this movie and see if they have the same reaction.
Underwater.
I have never in my life seen a movie that I sat through from beginning to minute 97 and the closing credits and had no reaction to.
No sensation,
What,
nothing.
what he means by
Nothing.
that
you
is
mean
that
you were dead inside
It
when
was
you watched
literally,
it?
oh, the credits. Movie's over now. Time for sleep.
because this man, you have to understand, Cece, he has a damn opinion about everything. So
Nothing.
That's a miracle.
Nothing.
Oh.
that he didn't have a reaction.
It was the
Interesting.
cinematic version
Yeah.
of sorbet.
Wow.
No, I
Yes.
don't
So
know what
vanilla
that
ice
means.
cream without the
I was
flavor.
like-
A palate cleanser.
I like sorbet.
It's a palate
Palate
cleanser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was like I watched, the Holy Mountain, then watch Underwater, and then you can watch something
Then
else.
back to Shivers.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me?
It's like, why?
I don't know. I can't help myself.
It's literally if you're hungry
He's
for
smoking.
love.
Look. Jimmy Stewart is smoking. I've lost all respect for him.
Never
Screw
happens
you.
anymore.
I'm just kidding.
Just had the guy who was trying to smoke a gum cigarette
This,
on our
this
channel.
movie, there was actually a list somewhere on the internet where somebody, there was Marlboro, Camel, Lucky Strikes, Pall Mall. There were like six.
Newport, maybe?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder who was vying to be the cigarette of this.
No, they were all
movie.
in it.
No,
They all paid.
All
Of them paid to have their, which is amazing because you think nowadays Coca-Cola would never pay any more to be one of the sodas.
It had to be
wants to be
the
Exactly.
soda.
That's
Yeah.
the truck that
Yeah.
Superman's getting thrown
Exactly.
into. Damn it! Yeah.
Well, if you watch the funniest thing, and I love James Bond. Okay, I love the Bond franchise, but the thing that I always find hilarious is the fact that every electronic device in the James Bond universe is made by Sony. His phone is a Sony phone.
I never picked up
His
on that.
watch is a Sony watch. Everything has Sony written on it.
Leave it to a dude to notice that kind of.
Well, no, it's just after a while you're like, Jesus, who has this phone? But back then though, it was cigarette makers were like, oh, we'll pay you a little bit of money. Put Newports in there. Put
Yeah.
Pall Mall. Put Lucky Strikes.
Well, and that's the thing is that like they don't even really.
Jimmy Stewart smoked Lucky Strikes, by the way,
Very nice.
because he was a serviceman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm with you. But Cece, let me just interrupt all of this guy talk to say, do you remember when men used to dress like this, like Jimmy
Yes.
Stewart in the suits and just
One time.
Oh, for the love
one
of God.
time.
he did it on
Ladies,
purpose.
ladies, I'm here for you.
That's okay.
I wish we
Yes.
still did. I
That's
would,
it.
I would, I would love to go out to dinner dressed like that.
Because what is
My
what
husband says the same thing.
Yeah.
He dressed like that for our wedding with a bow tie, though.
they had a gas
You know what I
station wedding.
miss, or not what I miss because it was before my time, but hats.
Fell off
Yeah,
the
I
bathroom.
would
I would
I know.
love
on the floor.
I know.
like I've got pictures of my grandparents, right? And your grandparents as old people, and you look at these pictures of them when they're young, and he's got a fedora,
yeah.
It's
kind of
so
cocks,
suave.
and he
Yeah.
looks like such a badass.
He looks like
You
he's gonna
know?
go hit up a bank or
Yes,
something.
or shoot the guy who's robbing the bank.
Yeah,
yeah, one or the other.
Even
Either way.
better. But what did Carrie and Big say on Sex and the City, Cece? They should
I'm out.
bring back the watch fob and the coat and tie, like
yeah,
the
yeah.
fancy way of dressing.
Exactly.
They need the watch fob back. Like that's.
Oh, God.
Well, that's why The Notebook. That's why women fell in love with Ryan Gosling worldwide because he was dressed like Jimmy freaking Stewart.
Wait, which one was Deadpool?
Ryan
I always
Reynolds.
get my
Reynolds.
Ryans confused.
so going back to that.
Ryan
so
McNeil.
the leading man.
Yeah,
kind of
Ryan
conversation-
Gosling could pass for that.
I would
think.
say Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling is definitely
Yeah.
in that category.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is too because he's got a little more charisma. He's a little funnier.
Yes.
I think Ryan Reynolds could
Ryan
pull it.
Reynolds
Yeah, I think
definitely.
he could,
Yeah.
I think Ryan Reynolds
I
is
see
our
that.
man.
In college, it's funny you say that about the watch fobs though, because in college, all of me and all my friends, we all had pocket watches. It was this
you
weird.
go.
It was this weird. I mean, there was a time when we were listening to like Squirrel Nuts. We talked about this.
Yeah,
Squirrel
Squirrel
Nut
Nut
Zippers,
Zippers,
yeah.
Big Bad Voodoo Daddy.
Yes, yeah. What movie?
Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
What movie though were we talking
Oh,
about?
Clueless.
No,
Blast from the Past.
Blast in the Past.
Yeah, that's
it.
where
Yeah,
Squirrel Nut
yeah.
Zippers were. Yeah. But
But yeah, so we tried and failed.
Tried to bring it back. Hey, Lou Bega tried to bring it back. If he can't,
but
nobody can.
But I will say this: we were all into Sinatra and the Rat Pack and the Watch Fobs and everything, and none of us got laid. So, at a certain point, we've done our part, ladies.
That's why you didn't get laid.
I'm not saying that. The government subsidizes things. I think women could too.
Oh my God.
I say try it with your current wife and see if you get laid a lot more. That's what I say.
That we're gonna
not bad advice.
shoot right past that one.
Because everybody in the room is married except for me. So
Look how red Jason has become. Why is that, do you think? What's making you flush?
I'm like alfalfa.
Give me that money.
That took a turn.
Hey, alfalfa. You wonder if his hair was sticking.
Yeah, this is where at the point of the movie,
they don't
this
get
is
it.
where it's seriously little Abner and Daisy Mae, because Mary is gunning for George so hard.
Like hardcore.
She's making it so obvious
That
that,
is
she
a-
likes him.
It's a nice dress. Just gonna say that it's a.
But she drew this
well-made.
beautiful picture
I
for
know,
him.
right?
But it's
George
in this
lassos
scene.
the moon.
It's in this scene where he's so angry, wants to get out, and then he breaks down and just starts making out with her.
Like,
Yeah.
Like you
Whoa,
do.
whoa! I'm so mad.
I know.
I could
The
just
games
screw.
she has to play.
well, because and she's being as forward as you can really
Yes,
be at
yes.
this time in this age without being an absolute whore
Yeah,
like Violet.
she's sitting on the bed with the airplane landing.
and he's just at first he's just being kind of upright about it, you know. Oh, well, she's got a fella.
Phrasing?
Crazy. But he's being a pretty, you know, upstanding guy where he's like, well, she's with Sam and his mom. I love this about it's a universal truth with moms when they want their kids to find somebody.
Hang on a second. We've got to roll this back a little bit.
I thought we weren't allowed to show the movie because we
can't
angles.
because of the camera, but I want everyone in the studio
To hear about it?
just watch in this sequence. Just watch Jimmy Stewart's eye line. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm always watching
And
Jimmy
he-
Stewart's
and
eye
he
line.
says,
Where is he looking? Okay.
"Where'd you get that dress?"
Oh, Lord. He was not making eye contact. Not at all.
They're up here, Michael.
I know.
Well, I mean, when you're that tall, you just sort of lean, I guess.
It's a good vantage point.
Okay, he glanced at
He's
her eyes
kind
for
of
a
looking
moment.
at her. Yeah.
He's not looking at her eyes, folks.
And she's not
Now he
wearing
is.
that particular dress to get him to look at her eyes.
No,
either.
exactly. Because
'Cause
Donna
she
Ree's a
wants him.
player. Yeah.
They're both. Like,
Oh yeah.
Now, how old is Jimmy Stewart in this film? Do you know?
Oh,
Let's Google it.
35, I
But you
think.
guys don't believe in Google. So.
Because he played a.
he plays from
An
like
18-year-old,
yeah, like
wasn't he?
18 all the way up, and she's 20, like 25.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be like post college
Yeah.
age, and she's and here she's 18 because he specifically
was
asked
4
her.
years.
He was like, "How old are you anyway?" And she goes,
Well, I
18.
see it.
And he's like, "Well, last year you're only 17." And she's like, "Oh, is that a bad age?" He goes, "No, it suits you." Like, it's just, and it's cute. It's
And then
the
he
back
took a
and forth.
cigarette out and he flicked it in her face.
Oh,
She went, "Take me,
he did
the
not.
1940s."
And he's so standoffish.
It's all about the suit.
I think the person he's rudest and most standoffish with in the entire movie is Mary.
Yes!
Because she's sitting there and
Yes!
she's just like, well, hey, Jimmy Stewart. And he's like, still smells like pine needles in here.
Yeah.
She's-
She's like, "George lassos the moon." He's like, "Oh, is this some kind of joke?
yeah.
I'm stuck here."
Okay, so Jimmy Stewart was born in 1908. So in 40, what?
I'm not
6 or
doing. I'm not
47?
doing. I'm not doing math.
47, he would have been 38, right?
Yeah, so,
I'll be right back.
I don't know about Donna Reed, but in the movie, she's supposed to be 18, and he's supposed to be about 24-ish, somewhere thereabouts. So because he worked for a while before he was even supposed to go to college,
Right.
and then he's been working even longer. So he's in his mid-20s in this timeline. But yeah,
He's making violent love to me,
mother.
mother.
and mother
just
doesn't
ignores
rush
it.
down. Yeah,
Whatever. Sam Wainwright's on the phone.
well, the mom is so excited. Well, because it's funny what moms will let you get away with depending on how eligible the bachelor. And Mrs. Maisel actually makes a really good joke about this, where she's like, "My mother always said that your garden is sacred, and water it, but behind a fence or whatever." I'm badly
I
paraphrasing.
don't even know
But
what
then-
that means.
It means don't sleep with a guy, but if you do, make it very, very subtle so that
Very discreet,
You're very
yeah.
discreet about it. And she was like, but then this really eligible, rich bachelor came along, and my mother was like, helping him. Here, let me give you a boost over the fence. Like, there's
Yeah.
my daughter. Go get her. Like,
Meanwhile, guys are going, Ata. Ata.
Zardoz. But, so Mary's sitting there and she's laying not even trap. She's just making it so known that she wants to be with George.
Yeah.
And she's beautiful. She's eligible.
And when that works, she tries to make him jealous, and that works.
Yes.
I'm going to go kill that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, and then what really works is that they lean into each other, and he
They're
just
just a little too
Just
close
starts kissing.
to resist. Yeah.
You smell good.
So the reason he's so grumpy here is because he just was waiting for his brother to get back, finds out he's up for a new job, and he's not going to come back and rescue him from the building alone.
because Harry
And
was
that's
supposed
why he's
to
so
come back.
grumpy when he goes over there.
yeah.
And
It is-
meanwhile, his mother's like shoving him on Mary, and he's like, "Mary's got a boyfriend," and she goes, "Oh, who cares? Just go over and see her." To the point where the mother calls ahead and is like, "Mary, my boy's coming over to see you," even though she has no idea that he really intends to go and see her. So, but this right here, this is some classic romance in older movies where you don't have to have like a full makeout scene. They do end up making out, but just
Look,
them leaning into each
His
other.
nose
it's
is
so-
touching her hair.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's just
Jimmy
subtle
Stewart.
enough.
Jimmy Stewart was very reluctant to do this scene.
Why?
He again. It's
I
this,
do the scene with Jimmy Stewart. My
Well,
God.
yeah, it was this. They filmed this actually a little earlier because the way they filmed this movie. First of all, they had to build a set that literally took up, I think, 7 acres.
The house?
No, the whole town.
Oh, okay.
Every single thing that you see in this movie
That's a lot of
was constructed, and in fact, I'm sorry, our possessed HVAC unit has a
Yeah, we hear it.
position on this
It's going.
subject. Yes, Satan.
Krampus is coming for us, but we have Christmas spirit. Leave us alone.
Fuck off, Krampus. No, but they had to build this entire set. They had to build Bedford Falls. And in
Right.
fact, there's actually a subdivision that's in Bedford Falls now. And it is so irritating that they didn't name it Bedford Falls.
What did
What?
they name it?
I don't know, but it's not called Bedford Falls.
What
It's like,
the
you
actual
built a
hell?
subdivision on Bedford Falls, you
Potterville.
idiots.
Stewartville is the only acceptable option.
Yeah. Yeah.
George Baileyville. There-
With a plaque that says, here in 1946, he
'cause what
banged
was it,
on a
Potterville?
reed.
Yeah, they
Baileyville
didn't
is
call
the
it Pottersville,
Right.
did they?
Yeah, no.
Baileyville is the only acceptable
Or maybe
solution of this
Hooterville.
Yeah,
Goes every
Hooterville.
Donna
Yeah,
Reed.
yeah. But
Margaritaville.
when they, you don't think of a movie like this as being a movie that like sort of breaks ground from a production side. There's no special effects
That's true. You don't
But
think
there-
about the
but
stuff
there
that you
are.
don't- right.
because first of all, the entire movie was filmed in the summertime.
Back when men would just shake you before they kissed you. My God,
Yeah.
Fake
he's
snow.
going crazy.
The fake snow, what they were using, the industry standard at the time, was cornflakes spray painted or painted white.
So bearer bonds
Yeah, bear bonds.
floating out
Yeah.
of Nakatomi Tower.
But the problem with cornflakes painted white is that when you do that, you can't record dialogue because of the sound.
that's
Because
so
obviously,
loud.
if you throw cornflakes out, there's a
Yeah.
lot
It's like
of
throwing
noise.
rice. There's gonna be like a
And so Frank Capra.
speaking of which.
Yeah, Frank Capra basically said, if we're going to do this movie, we have to come up with an entirely new way of making fake snow. And
Frank Capra did that.
Yeah, and he's the one who said you guys got to figure it out.
Well, he was the impetus behind the. Okay.
And so, like, if you've ever gone to any place that has fake snow and it's basically soap, like soap bubbles, this movie invented that. And in fact, I said earlier it didn't win an Academy Award. It
should
did.
have.
It did
For
for that.
special effects.
Of all things, which
It
is
won-
amazing.
it
I'm
won-
not
yeah.
taking away from that.
Yeah,
but
it won a
that's-
Class 3. I literally think that's what they call them. It's
Oh
a
my God.
Class 3 Academy Award, technical award for the snow.
I think his hesitation slowly melted away with kissing Donna Reed after a while because Jimmy Stewart is going for
Is
it.
that
in this
Ernie?
movie.
No, that's Bert.
Yeah, Bert.
Yeah, it's
No, it's Ernie.
Bert.
No, that's Bert.
Is the
Ernie's the
yeah.
cop.
yeah Ernie's the cop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bert's
Ernie's
the
the
cop.
Bert
cop.
and Ernie.
Yeah.
one of the few well-known facts about this
Yes.
movie is that you have the original Bert and Ernie.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Here's
That's
the other.
Ernie.
Here's the thing about that, though. According to the people who,
Oh, the cab drivers are.
according to the people at Sesame Street, not Jim Henson. Jim Henson never went on the record about it. Apparently, nobody ever asked him. According to the people at Sesame Street, Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street are absolutely not named. It's a total coincidence.
that both couples are obviously gay together.
That the
and
two gay couples are named Bert and Ernie. They swear up and down that Jim Henson had he was not the sort of person who would do that. Nope, there was a complete coincidence. Just came up with Bert and Ernie on their own.
I believe it.
I have a hard time
Well,
believing.
that
Could have
secret
been
is going to stay here
subconscious.
because I tell everyone that that's where Bert and Ernie came from. I told my kids when we watch it.
Yeah,
See Bert and
I've
Ernie? That's where
definitely
they got it
told
from
somebody
Sesame
that
Street.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to go with you because I don't see how it's possible.
But Jason, go back to your point a minute ago where we're talking about Donna Reed and Jimmy Stewart. Why was he hesitant to film the scene where he was kissing her for the first time?
It was this post-war thing. He didn't want to get into the emotions.
Oh, so the same reason as
And, yeah.
why he didn't want to do the movie to begin with.
Yeah, and the way they did that kiss, they actually at first Frank Capra was like, "Look, Jimmy, just give her a kiss and then we'll cut it.
Lure him
no big
in,
deal."
Donna Reed. See what you can do.
They ended up with a kiss that was actually, and again, 1946, they ended up having to cut the scene because the censors were going to have a problem with it.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
So there's actually, I mean, there's footage somewhere, I guess.
Definitely an iconic
Yeah.
scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like his-
Donna Reed and Jimmy Stewart played these characters 3 times.
Really?
Yep.
What else?
They did the exact same thing on 2 radio shows. They did the entire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep.
I think Beulah Bondi was Jimmy Stewart's mother in like multiple movies too.
She was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he can't even go on his honeymoon.
No.
Life throws another wrench
But
in
that-
his plans to travel.
It does. So yet another wrench, like what you're saying, Cece. So the building and loan is about to be taken down because the stock market crashes and
Michael
everybody's losing
Milken.
their money.
It's like the Truman
Is that
Show.
Herbert
we can't
Hoover
escape.
portrait in the background?
that's deep.
It is.
Damn. But
Well, and you notice that what's the angel's name? Clarence's boss. His name is Franklin.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
not too subtle.
a little jab
not
there.
subtle, but you know that Jimmy Stewart's mom. So George's mom was right about Mary because she's trying to push him on Mary and say like, "Hey, that's the kind of girl who will give you the right answers or take you in the right direction." And when the stock market crashes and he has to try and figure out how to save the town, she is the one who puts up their honeymoon money, not him. He doesn't offer that, so she actually comes up with that solution. And I love how he negotiates with everybody because they're all coming in saying, "Well, I have this much money in here, and I want this much money back." And he's like, "No, come on now. How much do you need to make it through the week?"
Classic Frank Capra.
Why so?
There's a point where. Oh wait, no. That's the ending. I'm sorry. Where the script said certain numbers, right?
Okay.
And Frank Capra told the extras, when you go in there, Jimmy has been doing the lines with 17. Don't say 17. Say like 1726, 1750 or whatever, just to throw him off
Okay.
so that I can get a natural reaction from
Because
Jimmy.
he went for it. He's like, "Oh well, here you go. Here's a quarter." Like you hear him responding to that.
and that's
Oh,
what he's doing.
Cool.
Capra threw him off the whole time, so he would just sort of like there's one like he kisses somebody, and it's like it's just there because Frank Capra knew I got to have it spontaneous. Because remember, what was Frank Capra doing the 4 or 5 years prior to this movie?
Please tell us.
What was going on?
I'm
World
blanking.
War II.
World War II.
Okay.
He was cinema verite before cinema verite even existed.
Okay.
Because he was out there.
Nice
he was,
use of verite.
Thank you. He was out there, filming actual combat, and he felt
that's right,
and
yeah.
he fell in love with the fact that he was looking at just people who had never acted a day in their lives, giving these incredible performances just because of the circumstances, and so he got it in his head. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to throw circumstances at the actors, and if they're good enough, they'll just roll with it, and you get gold.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
Wow.
yeah. Thank you.
I did not know that. So here it is, that iconic scene where all the people are demanding their money back, and Potter is trying to throw a wrench, another wrench, into the wrench that's already being, thrown into Jimmy Stewart's life by saying that he'll pay 50 cents on the dollar on people's loans to get them back on their feet. But no, Jimmy Stewart and his wife actually give up their own money, and they wind up rebuilding the town
Yeah.
and making it bigger and better than it ever was before. And So it's kind of funny because you have this ambitious guy who always thought that he was meant for better things, but he's the only reason why this town is what it is.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't see that throughout most of his life, that without him, without that ambition, without that drive, without that creativity that he has to build bridges or build a, what does he say? Build a bridge like a mile long and build buildings that go way up into the sky. Like you don't have to do that to be great. You just have to, like his dad was saying, he's like, well, Dad, I don't want to be stuck in this stuffy old office. And his dad was like, well, I feel like I build dreams in my stuffy little office.
Yeah.
And that's what he ends up doing without even realizing it. He's just putting his
You
heart
have
and
to
soul
you have
into
to
it.
wonder if somebody like Jeff Bezos ever sits back and realizes that he's Mr. Potter. You know, like is there a part of because there are so many Mr. Potters in the world,
Yeah.
and you
There's
just have
Mr.
to
Harry
wonder.
Potter.
Yeah, not now, not
It
now.
even says
Always.
HP on the
Yes,
carriage.
Yeah. But you have to wonder at a certain point in time, like if Jeff Bezos watches It's a Wonderful Life, does he either not get it or does he root for Mr. Potter?
Well, they say that the wealthier you become, the less empathetic you become with
I could see
people.
that.
So
I
you know,
think he just watches
Yeah.
it, sits there with absolutely no reaction, and then goes to sleep. Kind
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
yeah.
The 2020 film
Kind of
Underwater
like-
starring
That's right.
Kristen
There you
Stewart.
go. There
Yes.
you go.
Kind of like with Ferris Bueller, where when you're growing up, you're a kid and you cheer for Ferris, and then you get a little bit older and you cheer for Cameron, and then you get a little bit older and you cheer for Rooney. And you're just like, what happened to me?
He's not a righteous dude.
He's breaking all the rules. That's disrespectful little punk.
And you know what? Those people in Footloose shouldn't be dancing.
so there is
Put baby
a.
in a corner. She needs
Yeah,
to go
put
to
her in the
bed.
corner.
She needs an
it's-
aspirin
it's
and a glass of
generational.
water.
Who puts baby in the corner? I do.
Right.
But speaking of like difference in perspective at age, like that was what I was wondering about Jimmy Stewart, and I didn't know if that's where you were going, Jason, where he was like, reticent to do the scene with Donna Reed because they're 13 years different in age. So I didn't know if that was what it was.
It was
or
more an emotional
It was literally
thing.
just
It was literally just like look, the guy had been at war for a long time.
yeah.
Like
How
everybody.
long was he in?
I mean, he was in for. Oh, I'm sorry. He was in for. I'm sure.
Probably 3 or 4
3
years.
or 4 years. You know.
Okay.
Clearly, he wasn't drafted.
Oh,
You know. He volunteered and he specifically wanted that combat role, but it, coming off of all of that and then doing something like this, and it's a very deep, heavy movie, especially, like we talked about earlier, most of the movie is a big downer. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, everything comes back around. But no, but it was an emotional thing.
Well, then to that end, Mr. Brown, what made you want to get into the acting genre after you had been in the Navy for so long?
Okay. Well, first of all, let's
Well played, Darth. Well played.
let's be very clear.
I
Sitting
made it relevant.
sitting on a submarine, at the depth of 500 feet on 6 knots to nowhere is not quite as the same as flying combat
Did you
missions
say 6 knots to nowhere?
Yeah, 6 knots to nowhere, blowing people to
Is that the name of your
smithereens. Yeah.
autobiography?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. 6 knots to
You can dictate it and I'll type it for you.
nowhere.
That's it. I'm gonna.
You just won the episode.
You are getting a book cover now, sir.
And I'm putting it on our social mediums.
Bantam Doubleday Dell Audio presents 6 Knots to Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Narrated by Jason Mitchell.
Sounded like an NPR episode there. But it's just something I always wanted to do, and I had a lot of time to think about it while I was 6 knots to
But I
nowhere.
wouldn't say that it's not the same. I mean, what about the megalodons and the mermaids?
That's
and stuff?
true.
Like, that's a threat.
That's true.
True, and I did have to
worry
fight
about
the
those.
large squid.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
tough.
Well, and don't
Then
forget,
it
like,
attacked James Bond because
Yeah.
you beat the crap out of it and it got away.
and
you
don't for-
electrify the hull.
Yeah.
Remember that. That's what you do.
and
he
don't
didn't
forget,
have a
Bob
submarine.
Ballard said the sea is always trying to kill your ass.
Yeah, that's true.
It's one
was not aware
mistake,
of that.
one mistake, and they were all dead. So it looks perfectly calm.
well,
But
thank
you've
you.
got a billion gallons of water trying to kill you. So
That's what it is. And I'll tell you that the most scary thing is once you look around and you don't see shore anywhere.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh wait, this is for real.
yeah,
That's why I don't go any farther than like waist deep into the ocean.
Oh, we've talked about that because Cece is not aware of this. We're actually
that's
going
true.
to be going shark diving,
Yeah.
cage diving with the sharks at the Georgia Aquarium next year.
Fun. Sounds
And,
real fun.
We think
We'll
so.
take pictures.
But
Thrill seekers.
But the guys have talked about that because they're both scuba certified. I'm not, and Jason's always compared it to. There's a different level of danger to being waist deep in the water and not knowing what might be around you versus actually being under the water and seeing
Totally
the
different.
sharks. And I wouldn't
Yeah.
know the difference because
Totally
I've
different.
never been in that
Yeah.
scenario. But I don't see how that's any less scary because there's still a freaking shark right there.
Yeah.
So
Well, when you're waist deep, you're prey. You're just prey.
that's what's. I was just at the aquarium because I did see the new exhibit. And
Kramer.
Because I sent you pictures and you were like, "Are you at Jerry Seinfeld's house?" But I saw the new sharks at the aquarium, and the guy who was actually working there, he told me, he was like, "Yeah, I've been on a dive, and for the most part, the sharks that you're around, they're not much bigger than you are. They're only like 6 feet." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that's larger than me." But he was like, "Still though, you're not."
I'm imagining Chris Elliott. I don't know why.
His name is Michael. He's very cool, and he was like, "But the thing is, you're
Michael.
about their Michael, but you're about their size, so you're not really worth their effort,
Right.
If that makes sense." And I was like, "Oh, I've never really thought about it that way." But
that's what-
that's a 9-foot tiger shark that I just
Yeah.
saw swim past, so I'm
Well-
not sure about that.
Well, that's why great white sharks are so scary, because most of the time when they kill people,
I'ma
it's,
eat
it's
ya.
because of a curiosity bite.
That's why most people
Think
get
about
eaten.
Yeah, it's-
Exploratory biting.
Exploratory. I
then-
was just saw an officer. I just wanted to see what it was. You know.
I was just sampling the Baskin Robbins, sir. That's
We-
all I was doing.
We are up to another break, so we
Okay.
do have to take a quick break. We'll be back in about 1 second,
Exactly.
and we are back.
In the
Yay.
Baileyville.
It's good to be back.
Much
And-
better than a Hooverville.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
George Bailey, we get to the point in the movie where he has.
Does anyone not know how this ends?
And we see
Well,
that
you were the one saying that not many people have seen this movie, evidently.
But they still
so-
know how it ends.
we see that Mary gets her wish, that God favored Mary, and when she threw a rock into the house, and she got her wish to marry George Bailey. He
Oh,
did
'cause
not
we-
get his wish to leave Bedford Falls.
Yes.
We didn't talk about that. Jason talked about the sharpshooter who shot in the windows, but the point of it was that when George and Mary were on their first date, there's this old house that the lore is that if you throw a rock and break a window and make a wish, your wish will come true. Mary wished to live in the house that they were, destructing, and George wished to get the hell out of Dodge. And like Cece was saying,
Well, there's
his
all
wish
meth
didn't-
heads and
Well,
And
not
of course, I
anymore.
love the old guy that was said, "Just kiss the girl for God's sake." You know, quit your
Youth is
pussyfooting
wasted on
around.
the wrong people.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I love that quote. You
It is
just
true.
wasted on the wrong people. Because and I love Jimmy Stewart's comeback, and Mary was just like, it was kind of me hearing that I'm being put on a plane a minute ago off camera, Hindsighters, because the Jimmy Stewart's like, "Oh, you want to see some kissing? I'll show you some kissing the likes of which you've never seen." And Mary's like, "Whoa, what? I didn't volunteer for this." And
come on,
she's just
bend
like, "I
over,
gotta
lady.
go."
I'm going to show these bastards what's up.
But then she gets somewhat demure and loses her robe.
And then they get married.
Fast forward 4 children later. Clearly prophylactic.
Yeah.
That's why you shouldn't make plastic out of beans.
Yes,
You just won the episode.
excellent. Well done, Darth.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Maybe that's why he could, chili beans or soybeans, whichever bean was better.
Don't
Sam
kill the
chose
lily,
wrong.
you
Whichever
won.
bean.
Sam chose wrong. So we, George becomes a progressively more irritating thorn in Mr. Potter's side.
Yeah.
Because the building and loan just won't go under.
Won't go away. He owns everything.
By the way, if you were going to play a part in this movie, wouldn't you want to play Mr. Potter?
I know you would.
It would look
Yeah.
how much. I mean, he just looks like he's having so much fun.
I want
You'd really have to do the eyebrows up,
bodyguard.
Yeah.
I just stand
Yeah.
there like Lurch. Now this fellow looks so familiar. I've seen him in so many things.
Oh,
What-
there's so many character
Oh,
actors
yeah.
in this movie.
like the Beverly Hillbillies or something. he was in.
But let's finish talking about your question. So
Yeah, what's your
You
question?
would play Potter's bodyguard.
Okay, well, yeah, so
You
we
would
answered
play
that. Yeah, Mr. Potter.
Simple.
Who would you play?
I'd
Cece?
definitely be Donna Reed.
Well, who doesn't want to be Donna Reed?
I want to be
You'd be
Donna
Violet.
Reed. You kind of walked into that one.
You are such a
You
bitch.
softballed
No,
that
you
one
know
too.
what? You know what? I'm more of a Donna Reed in real life, so I would be Violet.
There you go to play something
Yeah,
different. Okay.
yeah.
I'm not really. I
wanna be
think
the drunk
Pilot
uncle.
really-
The drunk
Aren't you already?
It's an achievable goal. You see, it's
And
achievable.
NAR, they say.
Yeah.
No acting required.
Right.
Yes.
I want to be Sam just so I can say
Hee-haw.
hee-haw. And is that from the show Hee Haw? Is that why they're doing that?
No.
Or is it
That's their like, you
no,
know,
no. I know
town.
it's their hometown
Yeah.
thing, but like, is it just because it's a donkey thing, or like
We're all listening.
That's it. It doesn't
That's
have
the
anything.
mascot thing, right?
It doesn't have anything to do with the show. There's no relevance.
The
to
show
it.
didn't exist back then.
It didn't.
No.
Okay.
No,
I
Hee Haw.
honestly
Hee-Haw came
didn't
in
know
the
that.
60s.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
This
so.
was 1946, 47.
No, before LSD existed, we couldn't have hee haw. There had to be marijuana. Well, actually, there was shitloads of marijuana because every single person in this movie smoked marijuana.
That's what I should have brought. Cigars.
Yeah.
And that's oh my gosh, that is such a
a power
Yes,
play.
I love this.
Well, it's
We're-
like
Yeah.
Winston Churchill that Jason told us about the story with the parrot. So, Cece, if you don't know this, Winston Churchill apparently had a parrot in his office that was there simply to intimidate anybody that he wanted to intimidate. So it would like yell curse words.
Yeah.
And these uptight British people were like, "Oh my!" They didn't know how to do
my
that.
stars.
Whereas Mr. Potter's a little more subtle.
Rock,
He's
Fanny.
rock nerd alert.
Shut up, crackers.
No, but Mr. Potter's a little more subtle in the fact that he just has a chair that you sink into to make you seem like a smaller guy.
It's about a foot lower than his.
Yeah.
Barrymore did not originally, whenever they were sort of establishing how the movie was going to be shot, he didn't care for the look, the costume, the makeup, and everything.
Why?
He said it felt just mean, but not menacing. And he wanted something that was menacing in a way that wasn't really threatening.
Gotcha.
And so he went to the makeup people and the costumers, and he said, "I want American Gothic."
Okay. He looks
The
like
painting.
Donald Trump from behind.
You know,
but no, just seriously with his hair,
the
way
comb
it's,
over?
yeah, the way it's combed, yeah.
But
Looks like
he
President
specifically wanted to do an American Gothic look because he said that guy looks menacing and mean, but you're not really ever going to be scared of the American Gothic guy, and that's the look that we have.
Trump. Oh, it does sort of look like the Phantasm guy too. Boy,
Yeah.
he's got the head hair going
Yeah.
on. It's
Scrim.
like Donald Trump and the Phantasm guy had a baby.
It's all in the eyebrows.
Oh,
for
I
him,
love his
though.
eyebrows.
Yeah.
They're very expressive.
The scowl.
The Barrymore.
And he
He's
literally
like
can look
Eugene
down
Levy.
at George Bailey.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
The man with
Oh my god.
that was
Spot on.
fantastic.
Thank you.
That was absolutely fantastic.
My David Rose, ladies.
Have
and
you have you seen the Schitt's Creek greeting cards?
I have not.
Yeah, I'll have to find those.
Oh my
and so-
god. Ted.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Is that on there?
Yeah, and it's like congratulations on the baby.
My God, Alexis, we don't have time for the baby. I love
It's like
that show.
spooky how good you are at that.
They're all very distinct, so it's
Yeah.
relatively easy to do.
Yeah.
I've always been curious about that line. This line he says, "You've been playing nursemaid to a lot of garlic eaters." Garlic eaters was
It's a
an
derogatory
insult.
term.
Yeah.
for
I'm sure it
Italians.
was back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for Italians.
Yeah,
I
because
see. Okay.
Martini is the guy who owns the bar, and he's like, "Hey, Mr. Bailey," and so, yeah,
Yes,
it's all,
yes.
they're very
That's
Italian.
good old
Those
fashioned
Italians and their
racism.
spaghetti.
Yeah.
In the movie, I'm not.
You want some
I was about to say, I'm not being
spaghetti?
racist. It's part of the movie. It's just,
I'm gonna teach my mom how to use an iPad.
well, and that's hilarious too, because like they kind of went with some racism, even with George, because when he's getting these Italian people a new house, there's like 12 of them moving into a 2-bedroom with a goat.
Well, that's not racist. That's just accurate.
Right.
Well, no, but actually, no. Do you know who Frank Capra based that on? No. His own family.
He's Italian,
Oh, so
right?
it's not racist.
Capra.
It's
It's just
accurate.
personal.
Do you know what Capra means in Italian? Goat.
Goat, because
Yeah.
cabron is
Yeah.
goat in Spanish.
He based that on his own family.
Okay.
So,
So it's acceptable.
now who feels bad?
Yeah.
I don't. I feel better. Because apparently it's accurate. But I thought the movie was a little,
Well, the Baileys
Yeah.
seem to love their drink.
Well,
Everybody loved their drink back then.
It's
around
the
Christmas time.
1940s.
People
Yeah.
drank in the office back then.
I mean, talking about John
Whoa.
Hamm being a leading man. I need you to take it easy on the equipment. This is the second time, Cece. Too
I
much.
literally hit a chord.
When
Too
the
much,
baby has
dark
croup
alcohol.
and there's no brandy in the house.
That's you only give it brand new when it has the croup.
Or the Jimmy legs. Or whatever.
The Jimmy Stewart legs, bringing it back to the movie. So Potter tries to, basically buy out.
$20,000 a year. What do you think that was? 400,000
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, it was a big
Sold!
Yeah, I know, exactly.
But
Yeah.
Fuck off!
Yeah.
And a
I
3-year
was guessing-
contract. A 3-year contract. He could retire on that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
back then,
I was
yes, he
guessing
did.
200,000 when my
Yeah.
when my son asked me. So interestingly
Xavier
enough,
asked you
you
about
wouldn't
that?
think that a 14-year-old would be into this movie. I can say my son was distracted from his homework when I had this movie on.
You have a very
Well, to be-
unique,
yes,
smart son,
I'm a
though.
very intelligent son, but he doesn't watch black and white movies. And this both times when he was much younger and then today and
He was into
yesterday, he was into it.
Good,
Yeah.
Funny.
good cinema connects to any generation.
Yes.
Oh, I have a question about this upcoming scene. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
you,
no,
Jason.
go ahead.
So everyone in this room has children except for me. So here's a question
As
about
far as
how
you know.
You've got,
that I'm aware of.
you've got dogs. It's the same thing.
I have fur babies
Yeah.
with new Christmas scarves. Thanks.
Me
Thanks
too.
to Barb. Thank you, Miss Barb.
Fabulous.
We appreciate it. But yeah, so Mary, the way that she announces her pregnancy to Jimmy Stewart, because this was back when you couldn't say pregnant. Back like in the Lucille Ball times, Lucy was having a baby. She
In the
wasn't
family
pregnant.
way.
We're heading
Yeah.
back that way, I think.
Yep. And yeah, it's possible. But she surprises Jimmy Stewart because he's kind of down in the dumps and feeling bad about himself. And he's like, "Why'd you ever marry a guy like me?" And she goes, "'Cause I want my baby to look like you." And he's like, "What?" And he's just all surprised. And would that be how did your women tell you that they were pregnant? Do y'all remember that or?
Well, they had this device that
Look what you did to me! Look what you did to me!
All I remember.
I was hoping for a more wholesome story.
All
than that,
I
but,
remember, all I remember was screaming and the world starting to shrink.
the tunnel vision.
Andrea and Elaine, I am so sorry.
And then they had smelling salts. Yeah.
Wait, do you
How'd I
remember?
get
Do you
here?
remember the beginning of Saving Private Ryan?
You guys ruin everything good in my life. That's what you do. CC,
when
It's our
Tom
job.
Hanks sort of zones out in the middle.
the last leading man.
Yeah.
That's why he was the last leading man. Because he wasn't really at war. He just found out that his wife was pregnant. That's what happened.
I would say my first one was definitely oh shit. The second one
You are all ruining this. I thought this was going to be such a better game.
second one was more like finally because I tried forever for
That's
the
right.
second
Right.
one.
I do remember that.
And the
actually,
third one was another oh shit, we're doing this again.
Well, at least maybe the older one could take care
telling
of the
you.
younger one.
That's
Being
true.
real.
That's
Just being
true.
real. You
I
would
regret
think.
asking.
But
Yeah.
no.
You would
no.
think.
Welcome to real life.
Now, what period in your life did number one come? Was it was unexpected? Were you married?
Oh yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Shotgun wedding.
But no, we didn't get married till much later.
Oh, got it.
I
Just
wasn't,
last
I
week.
wasn't about that. You're not marrying me because I'm pregnant. I was not about that. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean it's just keeping it real.
There was a stand-up comedian I saw once. He talked about he wanted to do a realistic commercial for the pregnancy tests because he says it's like on the pregnancy test it's always oh honey look yay and he said I want to see the one where the guy goes where are the stairs.
Why do you look so sad? I'm happy, honey. This is great. Yay.
This might be the first time ever that Jason made me clutch my pearls. I'm ashamed to be laughing right now.
Not my words, Lynn. The words of Top Gear magazine.
Doesn't matter. I regret asking, but am also currently
By
very
the
happy
way-
with my own life choices.
By the way, to immediately derail this
please,
back,
please.
Right.
the war footage filmed by Frank Capra.
Very
Wow.
realistic war
Yeah,
footage
because
too.
he was the dude out there getting. I mean, Frank Capra did some pretty crazy things during the war to get some of those shots. There's a documentary called I think 4 Came Back.
It's kind of like Hunter Thompson-esque in a way, like just
Yeah,
no, I mean like just being in the muck of it. That's
yeah,
all
yeah,
I'm
but
talking
he
about.
was like on Midway.
Yeah.
No,
No, I understand.
Yeah,
He's
it
not
was a
hanging out with the
little
Hells
different.
Angels.
Yeah, a little different,
But,
yeah.
he's still in the muck of the whole situation. Is all I
yeah,
meant.
yeah. They totally random piece of trivia about the movie.
Because we never do that.
66 miles. Okay. That's how much film was shot. 380,000 feet. I don't remember, but it's 66 point something miles
Oh my god.
of footage.
Wow.
And you wonder why movies were so expensive,
Yeah.
because you don't just film it. First of all, your takes are like 10 seconds long,
Well, in the edit, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, but like you barely notice the editing too. Like there was such a finesse to it because, like you said, Jason, it's not like with our crummy digital podcast where you can go
Right.
in and cut things however you
Oh,
want
no,
to.
yeah.
And blackmail the hell out of Adam and me all the time. That's fun. But no, you barely notice though. There are a few cuts that I did pay attention to that drew my attention, but for the most part, it's just so smooth, and that
Yeah.
just means that the editor was just a
The
master of
editor,
his craft.
a good director back then and today. I mean, when it's Spielberg and Kasdan. Spielberg wouldn't be Spielberg, and he would tell people this. Without Lawrence Kasdan, those movies didn't exist.
Oh yeah, he says he would get together with his editor and he got his composer
Yeah,
John
and
Williams,
John Williams,
that's how
yeah,
he got a movie.
yeah.
He's like, I just put a bunch of clips together.
Yeah.
They made the movie.
He's the guy who he generates all this stuff and hands it to people, and then they create this final product, and that's what you
Jimmy
see.
Stewart with his pipe on the phone because
Well, I'm
Harry's
thinking
coming
he's
home.
lucky he was 4F because I know we got to close soon.
Yeah.
yes,
Because when he came back again, there was a lot of bars, nightclubs, gambling centers, and whorehouses. So if he had served as an enlisted sailor and came back and saw that,
he would have been in heaven.
he'd have said, "Yeah, maybe it would have been better if I'd been born." And then he would have went right into the whorehouse, and that would have been roll credits.
Roll
credits.
And then he quantum leaps into somebody else's body.
Whoa.
Yeah.
See how I did that?
Same
Yes.
universe.
Yes. And
good
you
at
notice
that.
how I said enlisted sailor, not an officer.
Exactly,
An
'cause-
officer would have never,
No.
ever done any of those things.
Such a lot. In case you're not picking up on this.
I've got a photograph I'll show you one of these days.
My bullshit meter is going off the charts.
Yikes.
So
Okay.
I guess we need to get around to the closing.
Yes.
Like you said, Jason, everybody know, like it's kind of a reverse, Scrooge
Porky?
situation. Derailed.
I said reverse Porky's.
No, it's a reverse Scrooge situation. So George actually finds out, that he's better off the way that he was when he actually thought that he had a terrible life. So it's a wonderful life.
Yeah.
Yay. Clarence comes to Earth and helps him.
Well,
to
shows him, yeah.
sort his life out. And give him
It's
some
it's a movie
perspective.
that legitimately stopped people from killing themselves.
Oh yeah,
which is an
there's like
amazing
a study
thing.
on it.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Well, he's literally about to kill
Yeah.
himself when they've lost all the money and he thinks he's going to jail and he's worth more dead than alive, as
Yeah.
Potter so
As many of us
lovely-
are,
Yeah.
sadly.
He puts it that way.
Lawyer question. Back then, because suicide completely like wipes out what you're worth if you have a life insurance policy.
They're not
But
gonna-
would that have applied back then, or
Yeah.
was that something that?
It still applied back then.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
if you kill yourself, your life insurance policy is not paying out.
Yeah, so like then he's not worth more dead than he is alive.
No.
Because they, when you jump into a river and nothing else, and
Well,
it's not like you get
Thanks
hit
for
by a
spoiling
car.
everything, Jade.
okay,
I ruined it. It's a wonderful life.
if you want to get into the weeds on it, you have to prove that it was suicide.
That's true. And who's going to do that to George Bailey?
The presumption
Yeah.
is that it isn't until they
He
prove
did
that it
crash
is.
his car
and-
into a tree too, so he
Yeah.
could have drunkenly fallen into the
Right.
See
river.
there, you repaired
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well done,
Yeah.
Cece.
You're
See, I didn't ruin it. You
Yes.
fixed it.
She's
pro-
already got a plan for her husband.
Oh,
Christopher,
hey,
run.
we should do double indemnity next.
But everything winds up, wonderful.
So one thing that there's a scene where he looks at the portrait of his father on the wall of his office, and it really drives home part of the theme of this movie, where it says, "All you can take with you is that which you've given away." And that's like the underlying theme that you see in the end is he's given so much of himself that he really has more than he realizes, and it all comes back to him in the end.
And that's actually said about him by one of the random people that's praying for him in the town. They say George is always putting people in front of himself, and frankly, I think that's why he's in so much trouble.
Yeah.
And so But then it all comes full circle. Clarence helps George to realize that he does, in fact, have a fantastic existence, and that he should want to get back to his wife and kids, which he does. And Clarence earns his wings as an angel for helping George.
Aw.
And you wonder if it's all a dream.
I'd
at
just
the
be going
end.
around ringing bells all the time. If I was
the
Clarence,
angels all their wings.
come on, son of a
Because
bitch.
somebody's got to say it. Who's going to say the iconic Zuzu line?
Wait, does anyone know how many angels got their wings in this movie? Because
I don't.
The
Oh,
how
internet,
many-
the
how-
internet counted.
Because the opening credits and the closing credits both have the Liberty. Okay, so there's at least 3.
42.
What?
There are 40. Apparently, the
What?
internet counted.
Well, come on, listen. Remember
Yeah.
when he went back again, and the guy who was the bartender, he's like, "Look, I'm getting angels their wings." He keeps opening and
yeah,
closing
yeah.
the cash
Right.
register like 10
Every time
times.
somebody opens and closes
Yeah.
the door.
Well, if you go by
yeah.
our Krampus episode where Mr. Brown was shimmying in his Christmas bell sweater, then approximately 1,000 angels got
I don't
their
want to talk
wings.
about
So
shimmying.
funny thing about that is when he comes back and it's called Nick's, not Martinis. There's a reference to that in the newer movie Christmas Chronicles, where they go to this bar and everybody in it's grumpy and Santa's trying to get help. It's called Nick's.
Oh,
Like Saint Nick's.
okay.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
there's
that.
references to this movie in a
Oh, it's
lot of different
iconic.
Christmas
Oh, I
movies if you
believe
look
it.
for them.
Yeah, so the good news is that everything winds up great for the Baileys. The business isn't going to go out because the entire town bands together, and it's all because of Mary. Mary.
Oh, yeah, she
Mary
saves him.
ties
Yeah.
everything together. She's really his guardian angel. If you think
I
about
think
it.
Mary, Sam Beckett leaped into Mary. Yes. I guess.
Yeah.
I know
That would
I know what you
I'd
meant.
have to diagram
He
that one.
quantum leaped.
He quantum leapt into her. And then he, but I think that's so when he was kissing Mary at the end, it was actually Scott Bakula. There you go.
And then Scott Bakula comes back as Zuzu.
I love how it returns to the innocence of like his little girl at the end when he finds her petals in his pocket that she wanted him to paste back onto her flower she carried home from school.
'Cause it's
he
such
finds them in his pocket, and he
Because
knows
it's such a dad
It
move.
grounds him.
Yeah,
Because
He
she has
grounds
a
him.
flower and she says she wants to give it a drink. Daddy, I want to give it a drink. And the petals fall off. And he does such a dad move where she's like, paste it back on. And he's like, all right, Zuzu.
Yeah,
all
here,
right.
hold
And
on
he
a
just
second.
shoves them in his pocket
Yeah,
and gives them
yeah.
back to her.
Yeah.
But the fact that that's his main keepsake because
Yeah.
he doesn't have his ID. He doesn't have any documents proving who he is in this alternate universe with Clarence. He doesn't even have Zuzu's petals, but that's where he really gets his faith restored is when he sees Zuzu's petals in his pocket.
the line.
So
There's
sweet.
a line from this that I often jokingly say with my husband is, "Why do we have to have all these kids anyway?" but I also say that my little girl, my third, is like my Zuzu.
Oh,
Because she's like the sweet. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
and she said it. Yay! Somebody had to say
Aw,
it.
someone had to.
But so the movie has a nice wholesome ending, which you always knew it was going to. And Clarence gets his wings, like we said. And so I guess we need to close out with Cece. Why did you pick this movie? And then we can go off to Seinfeld.
Well, I mean, it's really true to life. All of the disappointment and the frustration and the
Happy Christmas,
trials he
everyone.
goes through. But when you're supposed to feel it, really feel like and empathize with this character, identify with this character, so you can really, feel the turnaround in the end
In the
and get that
cockles of your
warm,
heart.
fuzzy, Christmassy feeling, that you want to feel at Christmas time. And it's the ultimate, feel good movie if you watch it to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like when John McClane pushes Hans Gruber.
Exactly.
Yeah, see, it's the same thing.
The
Same.
bearer bongs and the soap bubbles
Exactly.
float everywhere. It's great. All right. So on Alf to Seinfeld, do you remember the Alf to
how do you-
Seinfeld scale?
How do we even do this?
Seinfeld 10.
no. Has it
yes,
gotten
Seinfeld's
better?
a 10.
The other way.
Oh no, I meant
Sein-
right, yeah. Alf is 1, Seinfeld is 10, and
And
did
then
it
a
get
5
better?
That's relatable.
5 is like the perfect score, quote unquote, because that means that it didn't get any better, it didn't get any worse. It stayed just as
Yeah.
perfect in your mind.
I mean,
as it
I
was
think
back
this
then.
is the perfect movie. I think it's one of the most perfect movies.
And did you feel that way the first time you watched it?
I didn't watch it all the way through until I was maybe
So you thought it was a
22.
terribly depressing movie for most of your life.
We felt like
So
Phoebe
it-
for a very long time.
okay. So I get it. So it definitely went from zero to,
Hero.
yes.
Zero to hero.
Zero to hero. It definitely became my favorite Christmas movie, where I think as a kid it was probably Home Alone,
That sounds like
which
a,
is the
still a lot of
previous,
people's
which is the
favorites.
previous movie I was guest star on.
That's true. She loves Christmas, you guys, in case you haven't noticed.
No.
I'm
Yeah.
in the same boat. I would agree, because there's aspects of the movie, even though I liked it, really enjoyed it as a kid, until you have a job and you have to pay a mortgage, and
got
you
kids to support.
and you have kids to you
And a wife to
yeah,
disappoint.
exactly, yeah.
In a drafty old house.
Right. I don't think a kid is real. Most kids, maybe there's some. Generally speaking, a kid is not going to be capable of understanding being George Bailey.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, it's not a kid's movie.
It's not a kid's movie.
No.
I'm going to say, God, I mean, it's tough.
Fix the
It
old
is tough,
post.
right?
Yeah, I mean, in
Yes.
that sense,
Exactly. Something else I had in my notes
Knoll
I didn't
post.
get to bring up. The Newell post?
Knoll post?
Something.
Whatever it is. Whatever Clark says when
Yeah.
he saws it off in Christmas Vacation. Sorry.
No, it's true. I had
Newell
that in my
post,
notes.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't I mean, an 8?
Okay.
Well, I mean,
I'm
it's
giving
hard.
it a 5 because I've loved it every time I've seen it the same way.
Yeah, I don't
Even
know.
when I was
It
young.
kind of defies
Yeah.
rating.
I don't know.
Because I loved it. I loved it as a kid, and I love it now, but for different reasons.
I'm kind of a combination of y'all's wheelhouse because, like with Cece, whenever this movie was on TV, because we didn't have it on video, it was about 55 hours long, and
Yeah,
it
right?
was tough to sit through. Even if you had the patience as a kid to watch it all the way through, your parents were like, "All right, it's dinner time. Cut the TV off. Let's go." And you're, so it improved for me just because I didn't understand the strife of George Bailey. I totally do now, where you realize the mortgage struggles and the struggles with family and the stuff that kind of can taint the Christmas spirit. But so I'm gonna give it an 8.5 just because it got so much better.
And you
for
threw
me.
a fraction in there. Now I can't do the math.
Hey,
I got
1750,
pi.
just like with George Bailey.
It's
Improvise,
carry
Jimmy.
the 7 with it got. I'm gonna call this a 7.
You're no Jimmy Stewart. You
No,
can't
I'm not.
improvise with
No,
numbers.
I am not Jimmy Stewart.
Well,
And I auditioned for the role of George Bailey's brother and didn't get it, so I was a little bitter at first, you know.
in the original 1946 version.
That's right. That's right. I'm a little older than I look. Not much though.
But we do have to wrap up, unfortunately, because Jason's being a diva and
Yes.
has better things to do.
He's got obligations,
But we do, he's got family that's ruining his Christmas spirit. So,
as they do.
Yeah.
like you do. But Cece, thank you so much for joining
Yes,
us
thank
again.
you, Cece, for
Our
joining
you
us.
Thank
very
you
much.
for having me.
Thank you.
Our Hindsiders love seeing you again. And as always, Hindsiders, Darth and Jason and Adam, we love you all. We wish you a Merry Christmas if we don't see you beforehand. But we thank you for joining us for your drive time, your listening time, your holiday time, your It's a Wonderful Lifetime. This has been Hindsight, and good night.